Good evening, Rabbi. Let's continue with some words about Chanuka. Interesting things about Chanuka that there are. First of all, that we have 8 days, as we said, and we don't say Tachanun on those days because it's a holiday, it's a happy day, it's a time of Geulah, it's a time of redemption. So we don't say Tachanun, of course, we don't say Vidui. But what do? We say Hallel, right? We say the Hallel Agadol with the bracha and everything together, right? The whole thing, 8 days, yes. So, they asked a question in the Zohar HaKadosh, the question brought down about this. How is it, right, that on Chanukah we say 8 days Hallel Gadol with bracha, but on Pesach we don't say Hallel Gadol every day, only the first day. Yeah, and the rest of the time it's without the bracha and the Katan, Hallel Katan. Why? So what, Chanukah is bigger than Pesach? But Chanukah is only the Rabbanan, it's from the rabbis. Pesach is from the Torah. So how can Chanukah be better than Pesach? How is that? So Zohar HaKadosh, something nice answer, gives a beautiful answer. It says that the reason why we don't say Hallel Gadol on Pesach every day is because the Geulah, even though they had Geulah, they left Mitzrayim, there was Geulah, but he says the Geulah was not finished yet. It was not finished. Why? Until they received the Torah, it says. The Geulah was not complete. And this is the reason why we don't say Hallel Gadol on Pesach every day. Because the Geulah is only complete when you have Torah. Without Torah, what is the Geulah worth? It's not worth nothing, right? Like, today, right, they say, we have Eretz Israel. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, okay, we have Eretz Israel. But without Torah, Eretz Israel is not worth nothing. That's the thing. You want to have a secular state, be like all the other nations, all the other people, that's not worth it. That's why they say, by the way, there's an interesting story brought down that, Shimon Peres, remember he was the Rosh Mimshalah, Nasi, right? So, in the end, he became Baal Tshuva, he was Chozer Tshuva. You know who made him to become Baal Tshuva? Rabbi. He brought him to do Tshuva, and in the end, before he passed away, he was keeping Shabbat, and everything. This is the way it was. He used to come to Maran Rabbi and visit him. They would say, where are you going? Why are you going to this rabbi's house? He says, I'm going to see Mori Rabbi. He says, my Rebbe, I'm going to see my Rebbe. That's what he used to tell them. Can you imagine such a thing like this? So Shimon Peres, something interesting story he says. Something unbelievable, But he grew up when he was a child, he was in Europe. And he was raised by his grandfather, but not by his parents. His grandfather raised him. So what happened was that he says like this, he remembers when he was a child, Shimon Peres, one time, his grandfather took him to see a big chacham, big rabbi. You know who this was, the big rabbi? It was the Chafetz Chaim. Can you imagine? His grandfather took him to see the Chafetz Chaim. Shimon Peres, he saw the Chafetz Chaim. Unbelievable. So what happened was that he took him to see the Chafetz Chaim. So when Chafetz Chaim saw Shimon Peres, he started to cry, by the way. He started to cry. So he was a child at that time, you understand? Unbelievable. He was a child. So he asked the rabbi, he says, Rabbi, why are you crying? What happened? You see me and you cry? What's going on? So you know what he told him? He says like this. He told him, he said it in Hebrew, but I'll tell you in English. He said, a country, he says, without Torah is a terrible thing. This is what he told them, you understand? So with the Ruach HaKodesh, he saw that this kid was going to become one day the leader of the country, So he told him, he says, a country without Torah is a terrible thing. He says, I'm crying. You can't have a country without Torah. It's not worth it. This is what he told him. Can you imagine? Ruach HaKodesh. This was before the Medina. Before the Medina was founded. Can you imagine? So this is why Shimon Peres, when he was Rosh Mimshalah and Nasi, all the gatherings that they had for Torah, for Chachamim, for Yeshivot, he used to go to all of them, He would come there. And they would ask him, he says, what are you doing over here? He says, you're Chiloni, you're not a religious man. Why are you coming to these meetings of the Yeshivot? So he used to tell them, says, when I was a kid, I saw the Chafetz Chaim. This is what he told me. He says, that's why I come to support the Yeshivot. Can you imagine such a thing like this? Unbelievable. So anyway, right, getting back to what we said, that the issue of Chanukah, right, that the Hallel, we talked about the Hallel, right? So the Hallel, as we said, this is the reason why we say it, because in Pesach we don't say it. Let's now talk a little bit about the issue of the Menora. We talked about where to put the Menora yesterday, right? We talked about that. The window, the table, the door, right? One or the other, one of these things you can do. But the question is, what about the height, What should the height be of the Menora? So there's also halakha about this. the height of the menorah. Right? So first thing you have to know is that you can't put it too low or too high, So what does that mean? It says, right, if it goes above 20 amot, it's very high, like 10 meters, Lo yatzai dechufa. It didn't fulfill obligation. Why is that? Because when a person looks, he doesn't see it too high. It's not in his vision. It's not in his field of vision. So therefore, if he puts it above 20 amot, lo yatzai dechufa. He didn't fulfill his obligation. So it has to be in a height that a person can see. That's the whole thing, to publicize the miracle. So therefore, you can't put it so high like that. But what's the best way to do? And also, if he puts it below 3 tefachim, tefach is like this, right? 8 centimeters. 3 times 8, that's how much? 24, right? So you can't put it below that, like next to the floor. No good, because it's too low. The eye doesn't see, so it's too low. So what's the best place to put it? It says the halacha, the mitzvah is to put it between 3 tefachim and 10 tefachim. Between 3 and 10. What is 10 tefachim? 80 centimeters, like up to your waist, like this, So the best place to put it is like here, like this, not too high. Why? Because the eye sees it very, very well. But there's also, another reason why it's good to put it at this height. Something interesting, right? That, it says in Tehillim, right? Hashamayim la'Adonai, v'aretz natan livnei adam. That's what it says, right in Tehillim? No? Pasuk? So what does that mean? That the Shamayim belongs to Hashem, and the Aretz He gave to mankind, He gave to man. So what it says in Gemara, you know what this means? That the Shekhinah doesn't come below 10 tefachim. Doesn't come below your waist, the Shekhinah. It goes only down to here. Hashamayim shamayim la'Adonai. V'aretz natan livnei adam. This is the way they darshan in the pasuk, the Gemara. So why should you put the menorah lower than 10 tefachim? The Shekhinah doesn't come there. So why should you put it so low? This is the question, right? So in order to answer this question, I'll tell you something interesting. If you notice, by the way, every time that we have Chanuka, always we're reading the Parsha Shavua about who? About Yosef HaTzadik, right? Every time, always, Miketz, right? All these Parshiot with Yosef HaTzadik, right? Vayeshev, Miketz, all these we read during Hanukkah time. Always comes out the same, like this. Why? What's the reason why? What's the connection between Yosef HaTzadik and Chanuka? So they say, right? It says in the pasuk, Yosef HaTzadik. It says in Parshat Vayeshev, he was nar in Bnei Bilha Bnei Zilpah. He was a young boy, and he was hanging around with Bnei Bilha Bnei Zilpah. So Rashi says over there, why was he hanging around with them? Why not with the other brothers? What's with the Bnei Leah? He wasn't going with Bnei Leah. He was hanging around with Bnei Bilha Zilpah. So the reason why I did it was to mekar them, because they were like coming from the lower wives, They were not yet full wives. They were like pilegesh in the beginning, and then they became full wives later on. Whatever it is, but they were not on the same level. The wives, the lower, those two wives, Bilha and Zilpah, like Rachel and Leah. Rachel and Leah, they were prophets, Neviot. They were prophets. They were not prophets, Bilha and Zilpah. They were not on that level. So he wanted to becar them, to bring them close to Hashem, to teach them. Why? Because the other brothers, the sons of Leah, they were like looking at them as second-class citizens. This one, second class. Bnei Shfachot, they used to call them. The sons of the slaves. Like they're slaves. That's the way they used to call them. So Yosef HaTzadik didn't want to relate to them like that. So he used to bring them close, make friends with them, hang around with them, teach them Torah, teach them Yirat Shamayim, all kinds of things like this, right? So what does that mean? The Yosef, the tchuna, the quality of Yosef HaTzadik, you know what it is? He comes down low, to bring up the people who are on a low level. The Jews who are not so high, not such big chachamim, not such big tzaddikim, He goes down to pick them up. This is Yosef HaTzadik. So this is exactly what we have with Hanukkah, They say Chag Chanuka is also like that. It picks up even the Jews who are not so high, not so kadosh. It picks up everybody. That's why you see, you go to Israel, right? Let's see, in Hanukkah, you see everybody likes Chanukiah, even the Chiloni, the most secular people, they don't keep nothing. They eat pork, they don't keep Shabbat, nothing. But when it comes to Hanukkah, everybody's lighting Chanukiah. Why everybody's doing Chanukiah? They don't keep the other holidays. Yom Kippur they don't keep. On Yom Kippur they eat and drink. But Hanukkah they keep. Why? So Hanukkah has the quality, goes down low, to bring up all the Jews. It brings up everybody. That's the quality of Hanukkah. They say, right, that the lights of the menorah, this is the light of Mashiach. So it saves everybody there. Yosef HaTzadik. So he brings them up, and this is the reason why it's a mitzvah to put Chanukiah low, a little bit low, less than 10 tefachim, below your waist. Why? Because to show that Chanuka picks up everybody, he goes even below, and picks up everybody, takes everybody. That's the quality of Chanuka. So this is the reason why it's a mitzvah to put it like that. But the truth is, practically speaking, it's hard to put it like this, so low. Because usually, most of the tables, are like higher than that, right? They're like waist high at least, right? So it's going to be like this. So, it's not going to work out in most tables like that. You have to have a special table, a low table to put it like that. And also what happens is that when you have children, if you put it so low, they're going to go and knock it over. They're going to play with it, and stuff. They're going to reach it too easily. So if you have small children in the house, it's going to be difficult to put it this way. So therefore, the halacha is that if you can't put it so low like that, you can also put it a little bit higher, above 10 tefachim. It's okay, you can put it, it's kosher. It's still kosher, no problem, right? As long as the people can see it, it's nice, right next to their field of vision, a person can do it this way. So we can put it also above 10 tefachim, but the mitzvah is to put it dafka below, between 3 and 10, That's the best mitzvah. Okay, whatever. So that's interesting, right? Another thing I want to tell you was about the brachot, right? The first night, what do? We bless 3 brachot, right? We have lik, ner, shel Chanuka, or ner Chanuka, right? Ashkenazim, they say ner shel Chanuka. This is where they make the bracha. We don't say shel. We say ner Chanuka. Why the difference, between Ashkenazim and Sfaradim? The Ashkenazim, they do like the Gemara. In the Gemara it says, Masechet Shabbat, ner shel Chanuka. That's what it says in the Talmud. So they do, the Ashkenazim, like the Talmud. So what about us? We don't like the Talmud. We go like the Kabbalah. In the Kabbalah it says ner Chanuka, you should say, not ner shel Chanuka. This is the thing, So we dafka say ner Chanuka. This is the way we make the blessing of bracha. That's the first bracha you make, ner Chanuka. Second one is what? She'anisim la'avotenu, right by me, mahem baziman hazeh. And then we say Shechianu, third bracha, the first night. You have to say Shechianu because you have a new holiday, so we bless Shechianu on every new holiday that comes in. This is the way it is, right? This is the first night. What about the second night? Second night, the same thing, but we don't bless Shechianu anymore. No more Shechianu, right? Shechianu is only on the first night. We do the other 2 brachot, and then we light, that's the way it is. But if a person forgot to say Shechianu on the first night, you should say on the second night, or the third night, whatever, right? If you forgot to say Shechianu, always you can say until the end of the Chag, until the 8th day. You can still say Shechianu, if you forgot. But only one time, that's it, right? One time does the trick, and that's the way it is, right? So you make the bracha. Something interesting I'll tell you, right? Also, that we light in the Bet Knesset also, the Chanukiah, right? Minhag. The question is, why do we light in the Bet Knesset? We're already lighting in the house. Why do you have to do 2 times? For what? What do you need this for? This is the question, right? So the answer is, that they say, the Chazal, they made a minhag like this afterwards, after Chanukah, not during Chanukah, after Chanukah already, a long time after, like several hundred years ago, they made a takana, the Chazal, to light also in Bet Knesset. Why? To fulfill the obligation of people who don't have a house, they don't have a home. Let's say they're traveling, they're going somewhere. In those days, they didn't have hotels so much, whatever. So a person who's traveling, he has no house, so he can go to the shul and hear the Chanukiah, watch the Chanukiah over there. This is the reason why they made it. So a person who doesn't have a home, because I don't know, whatever it is, right? He's traveling, or God forbid, he's homeless. Right? Or homeless, I don't know, whatever, right? He goes to the shul and he hears the Chanukiah, the brachot over there. This is the reason why they made it. So what it means like this, right? That in order to understand that, in order to understand how that works, is that like this, that a person who has a house, okay, who has a home, Baruch Hashem, we all have. I hope we all have. We're not homeless, right? We all have a house. So if a person has a house, he can't fulfill the obligation in the shul, That's not fulfilling the obligation. It's only minhag, So he has to also do it in the house if he has a house. So the only person who can fulfill the obligation of Chanukah in the Bet Knesset is the one who doesn't have a home. This is that's the only one. But otherwise, you have to go also do it in your house. You can't just say, "Oh, I heard it in the shul. Yeah, it's okay." What do you mean it's okay? No, it's not okay. No, the shul is only minhag. At home it's chovah, it's obligation. 2 different things. You understand? So a person has to make sure that he understands this rule. Another interesting thing is like this. That I'll finish with this. I don't want to keep you going. There's also a question, as we said, right? Some people like to put the Chanukiah in the window or outside. There are some people who like to do like this, right? But the question is, if you put it outside, the wind blows it out. That's still, how can you really put the Chanukiah outside? There's wind always, So this is the question. So the truth is, in Eretz Israel, in this time of year, there's not so much wind in most places, So maybe you can do in Eretz Israel something like that. But in places where there's a lot of cold over there, like New York, like Canada, like Europe, France, it's cold over there, a lot of wind, so how can you put, so in order to do that, you have to put it into a glass case, in order that it shouldn't go out, otherwise it's going to go out. This is the way you got to do it, So this is the reason why they say, some of the poskim, that we're not really obligated to do it outside because of the wind as well. Because the wind is going to blow it out. If you're going to tell me to buy a glass case, but the rabbis never obligated anybody to buy a glass case, that's not part of the mitzvah. So it's like, it's a chumah when you do this, So this is the reason why, the truth is, that if you're putting it outside, you have no choice. You have to put it in a glass case. But if you have it inside, you don't need no glass case, no nothing, right? That's why, so another reason why it's better to put it inside. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'Amen.